It's normally what panel hosts do, by the way. Go ahead. You sit in the middle.
I get to see all the questions. That's great.
There you go, Shane. Inside scoop.
Yeah.
What? This is my personality. It's just your personality. Yeah, literally.
Good day, everybody. Good day, everybody. Okay, so welcome to the BBD panel discussion. So I'm sure you guys already saw the poster and everything. But first of all, we'd like our speakers to introduce themselves. I'm sure you know who I am. Probably I'm Keisha, if you're knowing, from the Wits Developer Society. And now we're going to let Baluba and everyone introduce themselves.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible? Afternoon. Thank you guys for coming today. I'm super excited to be here and we really feel privileged to have you here. And today we have something really special lined up for everyone. We have a few speakers from BBD who will be engaging in a conversation with us about career pathways within the tech industry. And so, we have a diverse group of individuals here with us today, and we're going to touch into quite a bit. And so I think I'll just hand over to everyone to introduce themselves. And so we can start on that side.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. That's okay. It's not on.
It is on. It's just for
Yes,
them.
for the
So you
laptop.
project your voice here, and that will work for the.
Okay. Sorry. Good afternoon. My name is Future Patlamutlaka. I did my undergrad at the University of Pretoria, and currently I'm a junior software engineer at BBD. So yeah, that's me.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rizal. I am a not so junior software engineer at BBD in the research and development department. I studied mechatronic engineering at UCT a couple years back.
Hi everyone, my name is Shen. I'm currently a junior software engineer at BBD, and I studied game design engineering as well as electrical and information engineering here at Wits. Yeah, that's me.
Cool. I'm the oldest here. I don't think you want to know what I studied. I studied a lot of things. Actually studied medicine here at Wits, then did computer science at UJ, and now I finished my LLB a couple of years ago. So that's what I am.
All right. So thank you, everyone, for that. I think I just want to get straight into it. Obviously, we have someone who graduated last year, 2024. We have
21?
2021. We have the grandfather and
2024.
And 2024. I think that's an interesting time that has passed. And the reason I'm asking is because I want to understand from your perspective, how has the tech industry changed from when you started studying, when you graduated, and where it is now? I think I'll start with our grandfather.
Sure, I inherited that one. But anyway, for me, it's quite interesting. 14 years in this industry. One thing that was what made a developer back then, I mean, a lot of you would just think, I need to pass, right? That's all. That has changed. Passing is not enough anymore. Like, you really need to immerse yourself in the tech space. You need to be playing with these things way before you finish school. You'll see the kind of interviews that you'll be doing now have changed from what do you like? Do you hold a position at your church group? Now we actually want you to just rather send us your GitHub repo, because that will really tell us what you're doing. So it's been an interesting change. And then, of course, young energy in the company, seeing people grow and transcend into greater positions, I think for me is actually testament to the great work we do.
Right, thank you for that. I think I want to pass the question to Future. And sort of from your perspective, seeing as you, just emerged into the industry, what has been the biggest shock or revelation that you've encountered while working at BBD in the past year?
The workload, I must say.
We stress them.
Yeah, the workload and the stress levels compared to uni is quite high at BBD. But I mean, I enjoy the stress. but at the same time, it's like a lot of stress.
Mm.
So say workload and stress. Back in uni, I mean, I would sleep at 11, and I was like, sleep 2, sometimes 4.
And how would you say your skills from uni really translated in a work environment, you know?
I mean, studying a computer science degree, it does not really help you. It kind of helps you, but not quite well in the work field, because in uni, they mostly teach you mathematics and architectural designs that are like really old, but set the ground for the new architectural patterns that are emerging in the current day of age. So they kind of give you the basis of what the software engineering is all about. But it's not just only software engineering. Obviously, a computer science degree, it gives you the groundwork for software engineering, cybersecurity analysts, and other opportunities that are there besides software engineering. So it just kind of sets the ground for your software engineering career.
I know. I actually find that quite interesting because something that's been emerging, you know, in the past couple of years is alternative routes to becoming a software developer. You know, we have IT boot camps, we have certificates, and we're sort of seeing different ways people are getting there without the traditional computer science background. Now, staying on that, you mentioned that you studied mechatronics
Yes,
and robotics.
basically.
Can you tell us about that? You know, is it something that you consider different to what you're doing now, or how did that, you know, different way of getting there enhance your understanding or contribute or even take away? You know, just how was that for you?
I think it is different to the kind of traditional software industry, but with mechatronic engineering, you had a lot of components in it. So it was mechanical, electrical, and computer. And personally, I just enjoyed the computer side the most. So at the time of choosing a career path, you can really pick one that you like the most and go with it and hope for the best. You will learn a lot of the skills in your job. Like you said, you studied computer science, which is the traditional software route, but it just gives you the groundwork. So as long as you're able to take the skills of application and transfer learning with you, you can pick any, I wouldn't say any, but any related field that you studied in.
Okay.
And as long as you're willing to put in the work, you're good.
I find that quite interesting as well, just looking deeper into it. And I know, Shen, you studied a degree with a bit of game engineering aspects to it. You know, could you tell us about that, how it was and what your experiences were with that, and also just how transitioning through that into your current career, how was that and what did you learn and how did it enhance your overall work life?
So I enjoyed studying game design. It was quite nice. So at Wits, they've got the game design engineering degree where you can do the pathway into electrical and information engineering, which is what I did. So I did both degrees. It was quite nice because for your first 3 years in engineering, you don't do many software courses, you do a few. So you get a little bit of exposure, but in the game design courses, it's very heavily focused on, cool, we're going to throw you into this course. You're going to learn how to make games. You're going to learn how to make them using languages and like game engines, but you have to figure that out on your own. So a nice part of it was teaching problem solving, you know, being able to learn how to use different languages on the fly when you need them to create different games. So that was quite nice.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I quite like that as well. One thing that's emerging for me is that, you know, the tech industry in South Africa is growing very rapidly, you know. I mean, I studied game design myself as well. And when I told my parents I wanted to do game design, they had a bit of a, okay, what's that, how, when, you know. And it took a bit of explaining. But what's clear is that the industry is changing very rapidly, you know. And so my next question goes to Mr. Tabang.
Yes, sir.
And I want to ask, in your 14 years working within the industry, what would you say is the biggest change you've seen? And what do you think is the biggest change you predict to happen?
So biggest change is book smarts are not going to get you far anymore, right? It's the grit, like it's the passion now. It's, do you really want it versus somebody else who's doing an internship and learnership? And I think all three of them are exposed to people like that who can't afford to come to Wits. So they'll take a detour and do an internship. And you would have heard of the likes of We Think Code and all of these things. So the industry is changing to understand that it's not about that certificate anymore. Don't get me wrong, it's important. You are still going to get it after you work at BBD. But now we're really looking for passionate, motivated individuals. So that's the big change.
Just to add on to that, I think about 3 weeks ago, UCT announced that they no longer are going to be using AI detection tools, right, for their students. I think effective from the 1st of September. Now, that really just sparks a whole discourse regarding that, AI is something which is really becoming a buzzword, something that's very prominent, it's the zeitgeist of our time, And so with that, I want to get your sort of understanding of how artificial intelligence specifically has transformed the industry in your view.
In my view, it's probably still transforming it. Unfortunately, in South Africa, we're probably 15 years behind where the world is with technology. And that's the reality we have to face, which is why you need young people in certain positions in government. We don't talk about that. But the key thing that AI has done, and this is why you see universities, is it's no longer an it might. It is doing it. And which is why universities have to actually allow you guys to play with it. Because the likes of Rizal, who's very much into the AI space, she talks about RAG, and we the oldies are like, these young people are going to take our jobs, right? But that's the reality. And it requires you as a developer, as an engineer, even with your 20 years experience, to constantly learn and reevaluate where you are.
Can I just interject
yes,
for that
please.
question? So I think the biggest change with AI that is coming and that has already come is that previously you being able to code was something that was great. Being able to figure out how to program a software solution was what we were expected to do. That was our day job. Now with all of our generative AI tools and our coding tools, it's able to do it much faster than us. I wouldn't say always much better than us, but it is a lot faster. So that kind of niche aspect of software engineering will go away in time to come. So now you have to be able to leverage these tools, not for it to erase us, but for it to make us more efficient. So now we used to have very specific niches: back-end developer, front-end developer, cloud engineer. Now you can use generative AI and all of these tools to help you do everything, because generative AI can code a back-end solution, it can code a front-end solution, but it can't create a full, robust solution from end to end that's scalable, that meets clients' needs, that can speak to clients, and that can give clients the trust that you need.
I quite like that, actually, but it reminds me of a quote by, I forget his name, but he's a professor at Harvard University, and there's this quote that he's famous for where he says that AI will not replace humans. However, humans with AI will replace humans without AI. What discourse or general ideas are we getting from that? How do we feel about something like that,
I completely agree. It will, if you are a person who is very much against using AI, you need to be as efficient as AI. You can use AI to help you learn much faster, to help you code the mundane stuff that we usually would take an hour to 2 hours to do. Now it can be done in 5 minutes. Use that hour more effectively now. Now you can use it to do other things. I'm not saying let it replace you, let it help you.
Right. And with that, I think, with the advent and, really rapid rise of AI, we're experiencing new roles that are coming into play, AI engineer, AI prompt engineer. And I mean, if you've been keeping up with Meta, a lot of money is going into this industry, And so from that, I sort of want to ask, I think specifically you, Shen, what roles do you see emerging? And in your experience, what roles have emerged,
I would say that I've noticed it's not necessarily about being a prompt engineer or being an AI engineer. It's about, like Rizal said, you are still going to fulfill your job as a developer or an engineer. You're just going to be more efficient at doing it, right? So there's no use in having someone be a prompt engineer if all they can do is sit and write prompts, but they don't understand the core knowledge behind it, right? So like Tabang said, it's not about having the certificate at the end of the day. It's about having the passion and the knowledge. So if you know what you're doing, you can use AI to be more efficient at your job. But there's no point in you sitting there and writing a prompt and being like, please make me a back end, please make me a front end, please connect it and deploy it. but you don't understand anything of what it just did, because you don't know if it's insecure, if it's the most effective way, if it's going to do what you need for your customers. Because if you're just going in blind, you're going to get terrible output. The point of it is to understand what you're doing and use it to be more efficient. So I don't believe that being an AI engineer necessarily in that regard, or being a prompt engineer, is the true skill that someone or the company is looking for. They're looking for people with passion and knowledge who are trying to be more efficient at what they do.
Now, I want to link a comment that Tabang mentioned about South Africa being about 15 years behind in this AI revolution. Firstly, I'd like you to sort of just expand on it a bit more and just give us an idea of what that actually looks like, in comparison to the United States, the UK, Europe,
You'd be shocked. The United States is actually not too far off. The biggest worry is your Asia, right? I mean, we talk about AI. Kids in grade 1 in Asia have been playing with AI. We talk about things like robotics, right? Robotics is in primary school. We're battling to just put technology in high school. So do you see how far behind we are? And yeah, so that's the picture, that's the reality actually.
Now, as South African students, really keen to break into the tech industry, how do we then become or put ourselves in a position where we can combat this, act against this, or not necessarily be just mere observers of what's happening? How do we address this issue?
You need to focus on solving the problem. A couple of days ago, and I'm sure you guys would have seen, there was this Uber and taxis and whatever. And then government came out and said they want to create an app. I'm like, that's not the problem, actually, right? And we need to think like that. Sometimes it's not technology. And like Shane said, you actually need to sit down and understand what it is you're doing. Because everybody can prompt-ish, but the key part is solve the problem at hand. And what's going to distinguish this generation to the generations before is where you can start to actually tell the people in power that we need to change this, and you actually change it yourself.
Thank you very much for that. I think that's rather profound, just giving us a greater understanding of how to even approach the issue. Now, what I want to go into second, and I think what may be really the purpose of this panel discussion, is that a lot of people, whether it be because of access or, differences in circumstances, a lot of people don't really know about the tech career paths that exist, And I mean, when you think of tech, perhaps the first thing that comes to mind would be a computer science degree, becoming a software developer. But in reality, there's a lot more skills within tech. And I'm sure even in an environment like BBD, there'll be a lot more different type of jobs and skills that you encounter in a team. So I think my question would be for you, Future. Could you kindly tell us how, in your first year, how it's been collaborating with different skill sets, what you've learned, and ultimately how everything comes together?
So, working as a software engineer, right? In a group, you mostly have a business analyst. The business analyst is the middleman between the stakeholders, your clients, and the developers. And then you have your project manager. Your project manager is the one that manages the entire project. So they ensure that deadlines are met. The solution that we as developers provide is up to par with what the clients expect. So me as a software engineer, my role would be to write the solutions for the client's requirements, based on the client's requirements. So working with everyone as a whole, like for example, the business analyst. Oh, before I forget, we have also testers. So the testers, they would test the code that it does not do weird stuff when in prod. So working with everyone as a whole would be, you first in the morning, you would have a stand-up, obviously, to discuss the requirements, the client requirements, and then you would code them, and then you would go back to the project manager, tell them that, oh, I'm done with this requirement, and then they will present it to the clients. The client would come back if they have any issues, if they want any updates to the solution that you have provided. They'll go back to the project manager or business analyst to discuss those changes, and then business analyst from project manager and business analyst to it comes back to the developer to fix that, and it's just the continuous loop.
Right, and so to you, Rizal, just just adding on to Future's conversation, what skills do you see or deem to be necessary within the other roles that exist in a software development company?
Within the other roles,
So,
do you want to define the other roles
such
first?
as a business analyst, a software tester? Which sort of streams do people who occupy those roles come from, and how does that look like in a company such as BBD?
I think let's kind of narrow that down a bit to more technical focused roles and skills in that, and then I would say less technical focused roles, so more business related roles. I think if you're a person who doesn't essentially want to spend a lot of time coding and debugging, but still enjoys the tech space, still enjoys problem solving just in a different way, a business analyst role would be a good route to take. If you enjoy working with people, working with clients, communication is something that comes easy to you or that you would want to do on a day-to-day, a business analyst would be a good role, and kind of going into the non-technical route would be better. If you are someone who is more technical and likes to code, to problem solve, then you'd be a software engineer. You could do the AI engineering route, cybersecurity. But like Shen said, I don't think companies often hire, or even specifically BBD, when we hire you at BBD, you're a software engineer, but you could do anything. Like I'm a software engineer, but I work on the research and development team, and I mainly focus on generative AI. So if we were classifying that, I would be an AI engineer. You get hired as a umbrella basket, and you get to do a lot of skills within it because your underlying technical skills needs to be problem solving, adaptability, being able to learn, and also being passionate. If you're passionate about tech in general, that's probably the thing that's going to get you the furthest.
Right, and just adding on to that, what skills would you say have proven to be really important when breaking through into the tech industry, either as a software developer or as a business analyst, the more technical roles, I'd say?
Breaking in from
From university into the working life.
I think you, Tabang, mentioned it. Having your ability to play with tech, being able to play with tech is a very big thing now. Your degree is not going to get you in. If I'm being honest, I think my degree got me in, and that's all I really needed to do. Because when I got to the technical interviews and they asked me some questions, I did not know it. They were like, listen, she's an engineer. I think she can figure it out. She has some IQ. That is not going to get you through the doors now because we have AI that would basically be able to do that. You have to be able to show that you have passion for it and that you're able to figure things out by yourself. And the only way for you guys to do that, other than being told through your university, is by playing with tech yourself, finding a problem in your community, or finding something that you enjoy and want to play with, like regarding your passions, and creating a project in code for that.
Right.
I think that would be the best thing to get you far.
All right, thank you very much. It appears we have a question, so I'll let you ask the question.
I have a question regarding like what roles, like since the onset of artificial intelligence, what roles would you say have reduced in importance, and what roles would you say have increased in importance as a cause of artificial intelligence coming to the workplace?
Cool.
What jobs so can be replaced, and what jobs have been introduced as AI came to the workplace?
All right. So your mundane roles, so project managers, we don't need project managers. We don't need someone who's going to tell us what to do. We can see it. We can actually start generating how quick we develop, right? All these things are there. So we don't need a project manager. So roles that are typically, as Rizal said, within business, but without core expertise in tech. So you can still be a good project manager, but you need to be a project manager, business analyst, and make sure devs don't lie to you, because you know devs, right? It always works on their machine, right? So you need to be always, at every point in time, you need to stay, especially if you're a business analyst, you need to keep your tech in check. Now, I'm not saying go build a whole AI robot that cleans your house, but when people talk about what is RAG, you can't be like, what is RAG? Right? You need to know what they're talking about. When people talk about generative AI, right? Traditional AI, LLMs, You can't be sitting there and be shocked and say, me, I'm a business analyst, I just create tickets. We don't need that anymore.
Right, so educating yourself and just going further than your degree takes you seems to be something that is really important within the industry. I see a hand over there. I think I'll hand over to you too.
I just want to go into software development, and I want to get your guys' personal opinions, not your analytical opinions. Do you feel like in the next 5 to 10 years, it's still a good, not necessarily good, but it's still worth it to go down the path of software development, considering the difficulty as well as the money it takes to yourself in that stream? Considering that now we have people at Postbank who are studying this coding thing, and if I'm a small business, personally, I'm taking someone from Postbank because I like to pay them this. And also, what are other alternatives to software development that can, as my colleague said, provide a sustainable money background?
Money background or foreground? All of them, all the grounds. Okay, cool. Can I take this one?
Go ahead.
Unfortunately, being in the company for so long, BBD traditionally never used to hire outside of university. Anything outside of university was not a consideration. About 9 years ago, a few friends of mine from France came to Joburg with the idea of We Think Code. I convinced them to sponsor about 1.5 million into this empty nest. They trusted me. And what you've seen where We Think Code is now, right? What we're getting away from is traditional institutions that give you trust me, they give you everything. But now you need to start thinking, which one actually teaches what I want, right? You need to look at what is in there, what's in the curriculum. It's not about, at least I have a computer science degree. What have you learned through that? So you need to now search deeper, because now you're not the only one that can afford. These alternative places actually pay you to study. Does that answer you? And in terms of sustainability, it changes every day. The tech space is so radical and ever-changing. Today is data science. Tomorrow is AI.
Before that was cloud.
There was cloud. Now
And-
people are like, I don't want the cloud. Bring back my stuff into my office, right? And now it's like this whole thing. And that wherever there's those kind of conversations, there's opportunity, which is why this industry will never die.
Can I just add to that? Just going off of what you said, is it still worth it to consider being a software developer in the future, looking at 5-10 years down the line? I'd say, look, it depends on what you want and your passion, right? You shouldn't go into an industry that you're not passionate about, because what do you have to offer a business then if you're not passionate about what you do, right? How can they believe in you if you can't believe in yourself to be passionate about your job, right? So looking at it, if you want to be a software developer, make sure you're passionate, make sure you're willing to learn, make sure you're willing to go through the grit, because it doesn't matter what institution you come from or what institution you end up at or go to. It's about, can you problem solve, can you learn, and are you passionate about the work that we do? So if you're passionate about tech, you shouldn't have to worry about the next 5 to 10 years. You should have to worry about how do you maintain your learning and your skills so that you can still be available in that tech space when you want to join the industry.
Can I interject with that?
Yeah.
The comment about why should someone hire you over someone who they can pay cheaper to? Why would you want to go to a company in the first place that wouldn't value you at the price tag that you think should be valued? I don't think you need to worry about where other people got their degrees and if they got their degrees from a different place, or if they didn't get a degree, therefore they can get paid different. If you have the right skill set, like he said, and you're good at what you're doing, companies will pay you.
Yeah.
Be invaluable. And that doesn't matter whether you come from a university or from a different kind of boot camp. It just means that you're able to do what you need to do when a company asks you to do it.
And then interestingly, before you go to a question, One of the directors at BBD recently got his matric 3 years ago. That just shows, I can't say who, of course, I can't. But that just shows you it's not about that anymore.
Well, just to add on to that, I think it was you who had mentioned that, nowadays it's gotten to a point where you think twice before looking at the CV and you're more interested in the GitHub portfolio. What kind of projects do you want to see on the GitHub? What kind of projects are exciting you lately that you've seen on GitHubs?
So I think that is going to be a personal question for every person. For me, I'm very interested, like Spunk said, in generative AI in this emerging tech space. So I've spent a lot of time working with RAG, retrieval augmented generation, traditional AI versus generative AI. All projects around AI agents excite me. I actually recently built a smart mirror that has an integrated AI agent into it. So whatever your passions are, link that to the type of projects you want to do.
I think I'll actually pass the same question on to you tonight.
Sorry, just rehash that one.
So essentially, what sort of projects do we want to see on GitHub in terms of portfolios, but also what projects or trends are exciting you the most?
I'm too old to have GitHub, apparently. That's what the CEO said. Yeah, me and Lucky were told we shouldn't have GitHubs. I don't know why. But I think 100% as a result. There's nothing worse than you trying to talk about something you really don't like. And trust me, within 2 minutes in an interview, I can tell.
You really can.
I'd like to pass the question on to you. So obviously, you've just entered the job market and been through the whole process that everyone here is a bit scared to approach. What excited you, or what excites you in terms of GitHub portfolios? But also, perhaps you could tell us what was in yours. What kind of projects you worked on, and how that was for you.
So, starting off with what excites me when I see a GitHub repo, obviously, is with generative AI. But for me, it's not just generative AI; it's how you utilize that generative AI. So I'm mostly drawn into the world of cybersecurity. I'm sure you noticed. So how are you utilizing, for example, generative AI or AI as a whole to help you in cybersecurity, for example, digital forensics? How are you utilizing it to better the digital forensics world of cybersecurity? So if I had to look at a GitHub repo, it would be mostly to look at, first off, generative AI projects, AI projects. Is there anything interesting are you building something that's new to me? Yeah, but the current projects that I have on my GitHub, they mostly simplistic. The first project that I had that kind of got me the job was making pictures more interactive. So when you just have an image that's just blank, so the software that I built, the website that I built, you could make it more interactive. Let's just say, for example, looking at this picture, you can make when somebody clicks on the A, it does something. And then when somebody clicks on the 100 years, it does something else. So I'm still working on that project. I went back to it to add more of AI to it, such that it can analyze the picture and give you possible ways you can make the picture more interactive. Like, for example, if you have a human on a picture in a desk, it could suggest, okay, I would add this instead of you having to do it manually. I'm currently working on adding AI to do it for you, and then you can just readjust the the points that the AI model generates.
Wow, that really sounds exciting to me, Now I want to move to Shannon. The reason I saved you for last is we both game developers, so it's a bit of bias. However, as a game developer, my personal GitHub is full with so many different things. A little bit of software, a little bit of AI. I tend to dabble everywhere. And I think that's the nice thing about game design, just being explorative. And so, from your side, especially coming from a game development background, what do you like to see in GitHub portfolios? What trend excites you? And if you don't mind, could you tell us what's in yours?
So I'll start off with what was in mine when I applied to BBD at the time. In my GitHub portfolio, I obviously had a bunch of games that I made. I had a personal blog website. I had some other websites and things that you could do like that, because this was about like 3 or 4 years ago now. So it was just like general stuff at the time that was fun. So making blogs, websites, making games, things like that I found interesting. Trends, obviously, similar to what everyone else said. Obviously, anything that looks complex and it looks like you enjoyed making it. But if you open up a GitHub repo and all you see is calculators, it's going to get boring at some point, right? So if you have something fun, if you have a game, if you have like a personal, like Future said, if you have a computer vision project, if you have anything interesting, and particularly if you have anything that's done with interesting tech, whether that's AI, whether it's security, whether it's a game, anything that's diverse and anything that's complex is going to be interesting and fun. What I also look for is also if you have a README. Having READMEs are great because I don't just want to get a blank repository and have to figure things out myself. So having a guide, knowing what you're showing us, why you're showing it, things like that are great.
Right.
Oh, sorry. Can I just add on? If you don't have a README, rather have
guest lecture where they spoke about MBA hell. If you don't realize before you had an MBA, that was, you were set, right? You're going to be the CEO or something. Nobody cares anymore about that. You actually want to know what you can do. And what people tend to start doing is using that piece of paper to actually prove that they can. Very similar to what you're seeing now. It's not about the paper. Do you actually know how to run a business? Do you actually know if you did something in your master's and in your honors, do you actually understand what you did? Or did you do enough to, get to the other side? So I, for one, have always thought and I've always had the vision that we're going to break away from papers. They're not going to mean, they probably don't mean anything now. Well, you must have a driver's license to drive, but you know where I'm going.
All right. I'll give the next question to you.
I have 2 questions, but the first one, I know it for the people who do like technical stuff, there's like a whole technical interview process that happens before you do the actual job. I just want to ask what the process is like for that. Is it about getting the right code, or is it about showing your problem solving and what you guys actually do, so that people that potentially want to technical work actually do, and also bring themselves forward for technical work. Very much about talking about, well, I know how to do this, but I also know to bring myself technical.
Yeah. I think across all these conversations we've been having, and I think you guys would have heard on this floor, we've echoed the point of understanding what you're building and understanding what problem you're trying to solve. A lot of the times when I sit in these interviews, by the way, I do these interviews with the CFO of the company. Now, the CFO is not going to ask you anything finance. He's actually going to ask you about tech. Funny enough, for some odd reason, he knows stuff. I don't know where, but he finds out somehow, right? He knows there's a front end. He actually knows about React and stuff. So that just shows you where these traditional careers have to change, right? Because very soon we might not need accountants, right? Not in a bad way, right? But I mean, I'm sure that thing can calculate faster than somebody else, right? So the interviews is more looking about, can you solve a problem? Do you understand technology? Have you exposed yourself to it? Are you continuously learning? Because once you get to BBD, you'll still have a day job and you'll have the grad program. And then there are people that will then study within that chaos for some weird reason. Future, yes.
I think the lady over there, the next question is yours.
I've noticed that BBD does sponsor hackathons. So does BBD also host their own hackathons, and what is the relevance of hackathons in applying to BBD?
I'm gonna leave Rizal. This is her stuff.
I'm hosting an AI hackathon. Unfortunately, this one is internally for BBD members only, but yeah, that's why he's giving it to me. The relevance of hackathons. So there's 2 perspectives. I think from a business perspective, we want to see how people are playing with the theme of the hack. So if it's an AI hackathon, we want to see how people are using generative AI or AI and what they're using it to solve problems. the importance of you doing a hackathon and including that when you are applying to companies is to show the company quite a few things. Firstly, you're collaborative. You're able to work with other people. You're able to work with other people in time-pressured environments. That's really important in a day job in tech in general. So if we can see that through hackathons, that you've done that through hackathons, it's a good sign. And that you're able to kind of play with tech in a different way. All those things are very key stuff that we've all been discussing, and a hackathon allows you to do that. So it's a very well-crafted way of forcing you guys to do it. And people who choose to do hackathons are generally people who want to do those three things, and then we'd want to hire you.
Well, thank you very much. I'll hand over to Zaza on the corner there.
I wanted to ask, you guys mentioned a lot about GitHub portfolios for the technical roles, but for the people who are a bit non-technical and want to go into the business analyst side, what are the sort of things you look for? Is the GitHub portfolio as important, or what is more important in that aspect?
Correct. We're all problem solvers. Solve the problem. Don't tell me I'm good with business. How do I know? So it is. Might not be as technical as a techie, but at least remember, when you're a business analyst, it's about rethinking or reshaping processes and thoughts, right? Show me.
I also think when we say non-technical, that's a bad way to describe it. Business analysts are very much technical as well. They need to understand the emerging tech and how it works. They may not want to fully code everything, but they need to have a good understanding of how the solution would work, how everything would go together. And as the tech industry changes, you need to be able to keep up with it. So that problem solving in the technical aspect is still very much there.
Actually, just on that, could you quickly elaborate as well on the role of software testers in relation to that?
Still necessary. If you're testing someone's code, you're problem solving. You're looking for the issues that could arise. You're looking for the edge cases that maybe the developer didn't have time to find. It's very much still, you still need to be technical. You would still need to evolve with the tech industry as time changes to work with the different places that you'd have to be in.
Just one thing on that I want to add to is, remember, not every client or not every company will have you being in an isolated role. So where you work for your project, you might not have testers, you might not have a BA, you might not have
That's a great point.
split things. You might have to do all those roles within a small team, do it yourself, whatever, things like that. So you have to be prepared to be able to take on those roles, challenge yourself, and learn new things to be able to execute on the job.
Shen can say that very well, because Shen's role is the BA, the developer, the tester, client communications, the project manager, everything.
And he approves his own pull request.
Yeah.
I still make them though.
Oh, and I just wanted to add on the testing role, right? My opinion is that the testing role is going to kind of die down, because you as a developer, you should be able to actually test your own code. Why do you expect somebody else to actually test your code? Because you're the one that wrote the logic, so you should be able to actually test the logic. What kind of edge cases? Because you need to be thinking like that while coding. What kind of edge cases? What kind of edge cases might I encounter? For example, knowing when to use an if and when to use an else, right? When to use when to have an early return and when to not have an early return, because I can tell you that I've had situations whereby I've had early returns that had actually caused problems because of I was not supposed to actually early return. So yeah.
I just want to pass a comment you just made right now to the extreme right. How do you feel about the statement just said about software testers slowly dying down, just from your perspective as someone with 14 years experience?
Yeah. I used to think testers would die 10 years ago. Not die like, the other way. I think for me, it has evolved, like with the engineer space. Automation testing. But unfortunately, when you go into this automation testing, you do need a bit of engineering principles in there. So a lot of the things that happen at BBD, you'd find yourself joining as a developer. Then in a couple of years, you are a BA, an SA. Then you are a tester, or a BA becomes a dev. Very unlikely, but it does happen. So what you need to understand is, don't bog yourself down that I'm going to be a data engineer. Because when you get into work and really find out what it's about, you're naturally going to pull yourself towards what really interests you.
Right, thank you. You can go here.
So my question is, with people doing boot camps and doing online courses, what value does a computer science degree exactly bring?
What, sorry, what?
What value?
does computer science degree have?
Do not underestimate some of the core principles the computer science degree gives you. Like, boot camps don't really go into, I don't know, when I studied computer science, I think I got 2 years of object orientation. It's like, whenever I see tables, I just like have trauma from 16 years ago, right? But that actually helps you. And you see it when you join, and I think all three of them, when you in the grad program with people that don't have that traditional core principles, you can tell, right? They'll quickly catch up, but these are the things that some of the advantages you do have. So there is something to it, but it's not the only way to get into tech anymore.
Can I just add to that? So this goes for any degree, whether it's engineering, whether it's BA, whether it's comsci. It's not just about learning the literal skills. It doesn't matter if in uni you did 4 years worth of Java or Python and then you want to go work as a Python dev. Part of the value of your degree is your ability to problem solve and to have grit and to go through the course and to understand what you're doing, right? It's not just about that fine technical knowledge. It's about all those soft skills that come with you throughout the degree. Can you problem solve? Can you work in a team? Can you work under pressure? All of those things add up when you go into industry. So if you're not able to problem solve now in uni, if you're not able to work in a team with people, if you're not able to meet deadlines, if you're not able to have a tough packed schedule, you aren't going to make it in the industry because you don't have that skill set. It's not just about, do I know Python? It's about, do you know Python? And do you have all of the soft skills that go along with working in industry? And that's part of the thing, part of the value of doing a degree is you get that experience. A degree is not the only way to get that experience, but that experience is there and it's offered to you in your degree. So please, when you're studying, make the most of that.
I think there were 2 questions on the top.
Yeah.
I think let's go to the left side first. We can start with Ibrahim and then Pretty after.
Alright, so I have questions from like an initial perspective. Right? I think something that we have seen is that there's a lot of tech startups that are coming about right now in South Africa, right? And it's either that they don't survive the second stage or third stage of seeding, where maybe the idea does not. They wake up. Let me put it like that. Investors wake up, or you find that they get bought out, right? So what key? I mean, obviously you have to have a product that makes sense, but my question relies more on. Would you say that someone should focus on building the company per se that's backing up the product, or should they focus on the MVP and build a company around the MVP?
MVP first. We're in a fast-paced industry. By the time you are thinking, somebody has already thrown it. Right? So in this day and age, if you are busy getting directors, getting people to work, by the time you actually launch, it's old news, it's boring now, right? So MVP first. And if you look at all the stories of innovations that have come from garages, it's always about MVP first, right? Look at Facebook. Have you seen Facebook, how it looked initially? Right? I wouldn't have used that thing, but they had to get it out there. It wasn't about how it looks. Can people do this connect? That's the key part.
I think I'll hand over to Pretty.
How do you know all these people? Oh, okay.
They're on the society.
You did say that we are in a fast-paced environment, right? But what are some South African tech trends that you think us as students should be aware of or should at least have an inkling so that when we do get into the working environment, we're not thrown out in the deep end and stuff like that. Like maybe some things that you guys see that students fail, during their grad programs or they end up dropping out and stuff. What are some things that we should equip ourselves with right now?
I think grit. I think Shane said it. Grit, man. Hey, it's tough. Eh?
Yeah, it is.
I don't think you need to focus on specific trends because by the time you start working, the trends will change.
Yeah.
So focus on the soft skills, focus on learning, problem solving, being able to collaborate, time management, actually really hard. Yeah, focus on those. But
Trust
people
me.
trust me. Yeah.
Just in this room, I can see. Don't worry.
And in order to know how to do those, I think I wouldn't say put as much in your plate as possible, but try and do as much as you possibly can to learn it. Learn the text that you're interested in. I don't think us giving you the most popular emerging tech is the best way to do it because you spoke about Angular and React. You spoke about game design. None of those things interest me. So if I go spend all the time learning it, I'm going to firstly not learn it well. And it's not going to come off as something I'm passionate about because I'm just not. So find the things in tech that you're passionate about and focus on those trends and emerging tech with there. And then build in those, find societies to be involved in, host committees and things like this. All of those things will teach you the soft skills that you need to survive in industry.
So I just want to add to that because you did mention what goes like wrong in a grad year when people don't have those skills that you maybe mentioned, right? It's not about that they didn't come in with those skills. It's about they didn't want to learn those skills when the opportunity presented to learn it, right? If we're doing a project and the project is based on C# and we have a group member who doesn't want to learn C#, there's going to be problems there because they don't want to learn. It's not about that you didn't know C# when you came in, it's that you don't want to learn it now. And it goes the same thing with collaboration. If you're not willing to collaborate with your group, how are you going to pass? How are you going to get through this task, this project? So it's about being able to learn and adapt on the go. You don't have to worry about, obviously it's important to educate yourself as you go, pick up on trends that are recent, and if you find them interesting, learn them. But if there are gaps in your knowledge, be willing to learn on the go to fill those gaps.
All right, we have time for one more question, and I'll give it to the gentleman at the back.
Check that poor lady's hand has been out.
Have you? Okay. Okay.
We'll take two more
we'll take
questions.
I think you can start.
I know it was mentioned that as South Africa we're 15, 14, right? But I wanted to ask, with the way the world is going, with all the chaos, I think that we are, as a continent, improving ourselves. So I want to ask out of interest, where you guys see, or the emerging things you see coming up in Africa, or the way you see Africa going.